Week 1 was awesome in the NFL. We're going to talk about it here on No Buts About It. What's up, everyone? I'm Josh Butts. Chus is also here somewhere on the left, on the right. Who knows where he'll appear on YouTube? I don't know. You don't know. Well, now you
None
know.
of us will know until we watch on YouTube. We replay it back.
Because he's over here for me. Are we actually boxed up right?
I
No.
have you
Okay.
on this side.
Yeah. See,
Yeah.
it's all very confusing. But the
So
NFL.
maybe it's whenever the maybe on your screen, whatever screen you're on, you're always on the right. Because if you're pointing to me like this, that means that you're on the right side. That'd be on the left, and it's
I'm
vice
on the,
versa.
but I'm on the left. Like if I'm looking at my screen, I'm on the left.
What?
Yeah, it's
So
weird.
so what do you talk? So when you open your computer, and you're looking at the screen, what side am I on? Am I on the right side of the screen or the left side of the screen?
If I'm looking at the screen, you're on the right side.
Okay, yeah, I'm on the right side.
So
And you would be,
what am I pointing at?
yeah, you're pointing it the opposite way though. Point the other
Yeah,
way.
right now I'm pointing at you on my. So
Okay,
you're
yeah,
over
but
there.
yeah, you should be pointing like this because now I'm
But
pointing at you,
but
right?
you're over there. Now we're pointing at each other.
Right,
What an
exactly.
enlightening conversation to
Yeah,
start the
but like
show.
on my side, it's pointing the opposite direction. So but it's really confusing because you're not pointing the right way, but you're on the right side, and I just thought that it was swapped. So,
I don't know what's going on.
well, I'm glad that we
Dude,
could kind of figure this out, though.
yeah, this was very important to the viewers.
Good.
Let's first, before we get into the Bengals W and the Steelers W and the Colts W, let's talk about some national headlines here from some teams that we don't normally talk about. So, Thursday night football kicking off the NFL season. We get 6 seconds into the game, and Spitgate occurs.
Oh, I thought you were talking. Never mind. All right, yeah, that
Jalen
happened.
Carter, he ended up getting $57,000 fine. They're considering the first game a suspension because he only made it 6 seconds into the game. He will not be suspended, so he will be playing against the Chiefs this Sunday. But, he spits on Dak Prescott and gets ejected. And then it comes out a video that makes it appear that Dak spit first. What were your thoughts on Spitgate when it initially happened?
Well, I wasn't watching it when it happened live. I was just kind of hearing it through the grapevine, through text messages and tweets and stuff like that. I was actually at a volleyball game, actually, so I wasn't watching football on Thursday night. But whenever I checked, I had heard about this, and I thought it was a little strange why Carter would spit at Dak unless something was said or some sort of trash talk was initiated that must have frustrated him to the point of spitting. And to spit at anybody in any spectrum is just not right on the football field. So it was very similar to like any other situation in the past when somebody starts fighting on the field or in any sport, there's always some sort of factor on why it started. And I just never really figured out why. And if Dak spit on him first, well, that makes sense why Carter retaliated with a spit himself. But I want to know what started it to begin with. Well, like, what do we have that information? Do we
It
know why?
it appeared that Dak, like, they were in the huddle, and I would say Jalen Carter was probably looking at the Cowboys huddle from 5-ish yards away.
Mm-hmm.
And Dak walked across the huddle and he spit over, I believe it was Tyler Booker's shoulder, but like outside of the Cowboys huddle. And Jalen Carter was still probably about 3 yards away. And Jalen Carter had started to walk up to him. And Dak looks up and just kind of grins, like gives this like a little kid who knows they did something wrong type grin
Mm-hmm.
uh, at Jalen Carter. And Jalen Carter took offense to that, apparently, was what he said. Dak Prescott said that he didn't, he's saying he didn't intend to do any of that. But also, there's this theory that, the Dak knew that Jalen Carter, he's had a history of, getting his temper reared up a
Yeah.
little bit. And he said, if we can get the Eagles' best defensive player out first play of the game, I'm going to do it. And he did it.
Yeah.
So obviously Dak's not going to admit to that, but very, very interesting situation, I think. And I'm kind of surprised that he didn't get suspended for more than one game, especially because the Eagles are playing the Chiefs, to be honest. But they're considering the Cowboys game a 1-game suspension. So that is Spitgate.
Yeah, I don't know if he, especially with uncertainty on who spit first and what caused it. I feel like with the spitting and stuff like that, I feel like, in my opinion, I think a 1-game suspension is justified. The first thing that I think of anytime that I think of like something weird like this happening, I think of the Myles Garrett Mason Rudolph situation, which I feel like is very different because in that situation, I believe Mason was suspended for 1 or 2 games. I don't remember how many he was suspended for, but I know Myles Garrett was suspended much longer. But obviously, that was because Myles Garrett actually took a helmet and like assaulted him on the field. So that being said, I feel like with this, it's just spit. So although it's bad, and I think it's disrespectful and not good, and should be separated from the football field entirely, I think 1 game is probably fine for the time being. So, but that's just my opinion, especially under the circumstances that we know.
Okay. That is Spitgate. Moving on. Did you watch Sunday Night Football?
Yes, but also I thought so earlier. I was just going to make a note of this. I
Okay.
thought on Thursday night you were going to talk about like one of the first plays of the game and how Travis Kelce caused Xavier Worthy to get hurt.
Well, that was
And
Friday
now,
night.
oh, that was Friday night. My bad.
And that was
No,
two
wait,
completely
what?
different teams.
What do you mean, Xavier
Yes.
Worthy? Yeah,
Xavier Worthy
yeah,
plays for the Chiefs.
Yeah, yeah, that was on Friday night. Yeah,
Yeah.
I
thought
don't.
you said Thursday.
Yeah, that's my bad.
Yeah, Xavier Worthy, he plays for the Chiefs. Do you want to talk about that? Talk about that. Let's talk about it.
No, I don't want to talk about
I'm fine
that.
with talking about the Chiefs losing. I enjoy that.
I mean, if you want to talk about it, it's fine. I got confused because you started talking about the Eagles and Chiefs, and I was like, and then I was under the assumption for whatever reason that the Eagles already played the Chiefs, but I know that I don't know. You got me all confused. Well, Xavier Worthy, like early on in first play of the game, I didn't really. It was like a weird Travis Kelce. I can't even really describe it, but Xavier Worthy ended up getting hurt like first play of the game, and now is like projected to be out for a decent bit of time. So I mean, I don't know if there's like a timestamp on that, but
yeah, I don't. The Chiefs, I don't want. They lost. Justin Herbert had a fantastic game. There's nothing. Quentin Johnston looked good. Lad McConkey looked pretty good. Amarian Hampton had a good first, debut. I don't think that that's the Chiefs though. Like I don't want to get on here and just take a victory lap on the Chiefs because that defense didn't look like a Spags defense.
All things considered, though, it was a pretty close game. I think it was. I think both sides kind of looked slow in that game to begin with. I think we haven't seen both teams' full potential just yet. I mean, Hampton did have a good first start, but I think that there's more coming. If that makes sense.
I just think the Chargers looked really good. Really on the Chiefs' defensive side of the ball, that just didn't look like a Spags defense. Drew Tranquil was really the only one who stood out, in my opinion. He had some big plays, and then he got hurt for a little bit, came back in. It looked like him and Chris Jones were kind of getting into it on the sideline. I don't want to take a victory lap on the Chiefs just yet. I know that I don't think they'll win the division, and I still stand by that. But I don't think that was a true depiction of what the 2025 Chiefs are going to look like. But Bills Ravens, that was a game.
Yes,
football.
that was crazy, and as if you're a fan of the show, you probably know how much me and Josh were very excited about the outcome of that game on Sunday. But it's not only very funny, but also helps the boys out in the AFC North.
Yes.
But
Yes,
yeah,
yes, yes.
if you want to talk about it, Josh, I mean, I think it was an entertaining final finish to that game. I mean, I feel bad for those Bills fans that left a little early.
Yeah, so the Bills rallied for 16 points in the last 4 minutes of a 41-40 game. And I'm trying to look here I'm looking at the win probability total. We're talking here about 3 minutes, 350 left in the fourth. The Bills had a 0.9% chance to win this game. And then that drops off a cliff. And I believe about when Derrick Henry, who had a fantastic game up to this point. He had over 100 yards rushing. He was killing the Bills' defense. He had a great game. Fumbled the ball, and it just absolutely shifted the entire momentum of the game. And my mom was sitting on the couch and we were watching it. She's like, "This game's over." I said, "No, I just I felt like something was coming," and the Bills just rallied. They put it together. James Cook got going. They played through the final, the whole clock, and it was a fantastic game. Matt Prater got to kick the walk-off field goal. He just got into Buffalo last week, like 2 days before that game, and he said he didn't even know some of his like special teams teammates' names yet. So obviously Matt Prater's been in the league for a while, but it was just everything about it was just it was perfect Sunday night football. That's what you want. And the fact that we're living in a world right now where the Bengals are 1-0 and the Chiefs and the Ravens are 0-1, that makes me so happy. That just warms my heart.
America won. America won this week. America won. So, but the game was incredible. I mean, early on, I mean, it was back and forth. I mean, it looked like it was Baltimore all the way though. But I mean, at the end of the game, it was a 1.40-25 with like 4 or 5 minutes left in the game. I mean, there really wasn't that much time. And as I mentioned earlier on, like there are people obviously leaving the stands. You saw people leaving, and people, just pretty much gave up. And Josh Allen even made a mention of that, saying like, have a little bit more faith next time. I mean, at that point in the game, I mean, you kind of expect it to be like game over, but I guess you can't count this Bills team out no matter how good the competition is. And I wouldn't put this as a bad omen for Baltimore per se. I mean, I know that Baltimore's had a more recent track record of blowing some of these big leads in the past, but I mean, I still think Baltimore's a pretty good team and has very high probability of a bounce back this week against Cleveland. So
yeah, now if Baltimore loses to Cleveland, that would be really funny.
I kind of would find that very funny myself. So let's hope for it to happen. I don't expect it to, but Joe Flacco masterclass would be really funny to beat the Baltimore Ravens. So
I don't think that Baltimore defense still worries me. They did great in the draft. They did great in free agency. Those guys showed up as well. They didn't play the whole game, and the Bills did. And the Ravens played a good game for the first 56 minutes. And then,
this Bills team though is fun though. I like it though. It's a lot of fun to watch a very fun team like the Bills over the last couple of years. I mean, it's just really sad that they have yet to get over that hump to get to the Super Bowl. It just feels like the Chiefs are always been their kryptonite. Maybe this will be the year that they get over that hump. But I mean, we've got a lot of competition in the AFC this year. I feel like so it's going to be hard to tell who gets hot at the right time, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how well you perform at the beginning of the season. It's all about how you finish at the end.
Yep. Let's move on now to some of the teams we like, the teams we focus on. And Chus, I'll let you go first because I've got a lot to say about my boys. So
Let me start with a Josh special here. No, I don't. Actually, I don't want to do it. I actually don't want to do it. I've decided I
I
don't
don't.
want to do it.
I
So
don't even
I'm
know what
not
you're
going to
talking
do the
about.
Josh
But
special. All right. Oh, you want to? This is what. So anytime that the Cincinnati Bengals win a game, the Cincinnati Bengals are the best team to ever play the sport of football. They are just Trey Hendrickson, dog. Chase Brown, dog. Jamar Chase, dog. T. Higgins, dog. Joe Burrow, nothing can stop Joe Shiesty. Brr. Everybody, Jordan Battle stepping up big when needed. And what is that kicker over in Cleveland? The Bengals 1-0. Last time they started 1-0, they went to the Super Bowl. And you know what? That's a good omen. That's a good
that's
omen for the
facts.
Bengals
Facts.
this season. Why don't you start since I just hyped up the Bengals for you this entire well, yeah. Why don't we start? Yeah, but that's how it usually starts. We usually when the Bengals get a pretty big win.
Okay, I wasn't gonna do that, but I'm glad you
Okay.
did. I guess so.
All
Okay,
right.
the Cincinnati Bengals. Let me get some of my stats out here that I want to talk about. You know, I enjoyed this game. I liked this game. This game gave me what I wanted to see, and that was visual improvement of the defense against a division rival. And you're gonna say, people are gonna say, they didn't look great. You're right. They didn't look great. I never said the Bengals defense needed to look great. I said they needed to be good. And they were good enough to keep some of the Browns' drives from becoming touchdowns and staying at field goal attempts, one of which resulted in a missed field goal for the Browns. Okay. Joe Burrow, his whole career has gotten off to slow starts. And whether that's because of Zach Taylor, whatever, he just has always been slow. On top of that, he's never really been good against the Browns. Jamar Chase has never been good against the Browns. Denzel Ward tends to lock him down. Denzel Ward is a super talented cornerback. Jamar Chase, he says he's the best in the NFL. These two teams just match up really well against each other. I'm not worried about the Bengals offense. Joe Burrow is not going to throw 130 yards each game. They're not going to struggle to run the ball. They're not going to have Jamar Chase and T. Higgins locked down as much. Jamar Chase had a few drops. I'm not worried about that. However, this was a game where the defense needed to step up and win it for them. And so they did. The defense allowed 0 points on the last 5 drives of the game, and they didn't allow a rush longer than 5 yards. The Bengals offense had negative 18 yards in the fourth quarter. I believe they had like negative 7 in the whole second half or something. So it was not a good game at all for the Bengals offense. And the Bengals offense had to, turn to the defense and say, okay, here's your opportunity. Show us you can win this game for us. And they did. Jordan Battle, guy we love on this show, guy we talk about all the time, but there have been some questions about. He came up with an interception, and it was a crazy interception. It was like the ball got tipped up in the air, and he dove and caught it. And then pretty soon, a little bit later on, same type of thing. DJ Turner the second, he tipped ball, dives to catch it, and that was really kind of the more ceiling of the 2 interceptions. That was a bigger deal. Kind of took the momentum away from them late in the game. If you're the Cleveland Browns. But that was a huge moment for that defense. And they also had some young guys step up. Demetrius Knight, he stepped up as a young guy who I have hyped up so much. I love this guy. I think he had 10 tackles against the Cleveland Browns. And then Shamar Stewart, the first overall pick, was a top-rated rookie by PFF this week. He didn't get any sacks, but he got a ton of pressures, and he got some batted balls that just ended drives, and he made his presence known. He also picked up and threw DeJuan Jones down on the ground at one point. And DeJuan Jones weighs like 380 pounds, so he's definitely a strong boy. So we will see what happens there. But first of all, Chus, I do want to highlight some of the Browns as well. But first, why don't you tell me what your thoughts are on some of these Bengals defensive players?
Yeah, I obviously wasn't really watching too thoroughly the Bengals and Browns game just because I was watching Steelers game. But from what I did see, definitely much more of an improved defense from last year specifically. I mean, obviously, I don't really remember how you guys started last season. If it was, I believe it was a close game with, I would say the Patriots, but I don't remember what year you started off the season against the Patriots and who you started the
Last
season.
year.
It
I
was
hated
last year.
that. It was
Yeah,
terrible.
anyway, yeah. So it was a close game last year and stuff too. And this game was no different, but I feel like the defense definitely stepped up. I'm very glad, and I've said it before, no matter even if Jordan Battle plays for a division rival, I'm very happy for him. And I wanted him to get the ball more, like I wanted him to be more in involved in the defense because I feel like he hadn't been. I feel like he was just kind of being like his potential was being wasted. And I knew what kind of breakout he could have been. And I felt like this really kind of showed that he can be that breakout defensive player that you guys really need. I know you guys have had kind of ups and downs with the safety position and whatnot. So it's really good to have a young, gritty safety that's, going to make that play like that interception that he had during that game. And I was really impressed with it. And I was very excited. I was glad that we mentioned it. I figured you would because you've been tweeting about Jordan Battle. We've been talking about it in the group chat. But yeah, like I said, I think Golden's defense looks different for you guys, and I think that's a good thing. It's way different than how it's been over the last couple of years, and I think that's beneficial because even if you have just a little bit of a more of an improved defense, I think you guys have a better chance at making a deeper playoff push than you've had in the last couple of years. So very exciting things to come. Now, like I said, very slow. Like I kind of would have liked more of a bigger win for you guys over the Browns. 1 point victory, 17-16 kind of really was reliant on Cleveland's kicker. He didn't really have that great of a game, but you guys held well on special teams and on the defensive side of the ball. And even if the offensive production was a little low, like you said, um, I don't think it's much worry on any side of the ball. Like you said, Joe Burrow's had historically slow starts, and he'll get into his into some momentum here in probably like week 3 or 4 or 5, even at the latest. And I think he'll really come into his own. So all positive things coming into week 2. Who do you guys play this week? Who are you guys
The
eyeing up?
Jaguars,
Yeah,
old
so that game
college
should
rival.
that game should be pretty fascinating in my opinion. I think it'll be. I don't think Jacksonville is too much of a big threat, and I think you guys should win that game. But we'll see.
And that
How everything goes.
I want to see if the offense can bounce back against Jacksonville and then allow the defense to also kind of stay the same and build some
Right.
consistency. Um, they did bring in some guys that I am excited about in terms of depth. I don't know a ton about them though, so I'm not going to say anything yet. They brought in Isaiah Joski, I think is his name. He's a former second round pick for the Saints. But and then Mike Penal, they brought him in last week before the debut. He was with the Chiefs, but I'm gonna make a video about them later on. I think just because I don't know a ton about them. TJ Slayton also he was signed in free agency, and no one really talked about him, but he had a pretty good game for the Bengals as well. However, like I said, the defense doesn't need to be great. They just need to make key moments. And that was what was so good about that 2021 defense where they went to the Super Bowl. Everyone, like Bengals fans, tend to paint that defense in like this divine imagery, like Jesse Bates, DJ Reader, prime Sam Hubbard. And it was a good defense. It was a good defense. But the thing that made them so great was that they came up with turnovers in key moments, specifically in the playoffs. Jermaine Pratt against the Raiders. Jesse Bates did it a few times during the playoffs. So if the Bengals can get back to that mode and force some of these drives that last year would have been touchdowns to be field goals, I'm feeling a lot more comfortable with that because I think this game last year is a Browns win easily. The Bengals lost this type of game multiple times last season. So we'll see. But, I like being right about stuff. I hated being right on Sunday because the Browns draft class is probably my favorite draft class this year in terms of like prospects. So Carson Schwessinger. He was, I believe, PFF's third highest rated rookie, and he looked fantastic. And I remember when the Browns drafted him, one of my friends who's a Browns fan was like mad about it. And I said, no, wait, this dude is smart. He's going to be a great player for you guys. And he showed it. He showed it on Sunday. He played fantastic. And I hated it every moment of it. Because I was like, part of me was like, yes, I was right about this guy. And the other part of me was like, stop doing that to my team. So Carson Schwessinger, shout out to you. The other one of the other ones is Dylan Sampson out of Tennessee. He was like, I think, a 5th round pick who, a lot of people didn't really pay attention to because of his size. I really liked him, especially as a receiving threat. And with Quinshon Judkins not ready to go yet, he got a ton of carries. He got a ton of targets in the receiving game and just had a great game for the Bengals. Or for the Browns. I would argue that he actually played better than Jerome Ford did. And I think the stats would back me up on that, even though I don't have those in front of me right now.
Would.
Okay. And then Harold Fannin Jr. kind of did exactly what I expected him to. He's a tight end, but they used him much more as a wide receiver, kind of similar to how the Bengals use Mike Gesicki. And he had a ton of catches for a ton of yards. And I've already picked him up in all my fantasy leagues. So maybe if you need a tight end who's a receiving threat, maybe go get Harold Fannin Jr. Not a big name that a lot of people are talking about, but that's my recommendation. So I just wanted to shout out those guys. I hated you on Sunday, but thank you for helping me be right. So that's all I got for the Bengals this week. Hopefully just that they can carry on that momentum defensively against the Jaguars and offensively kind of rebound here, which Joe Burrow has historically done well against the Jaguars. So that should help. But Chus, let's move on to your boys who also got the dub.
Right. Yeah. So Pittsburgh Steelers. Wow. I mean, for me, this is a very impressive win. And I say this with my whole heart. It's been a rough couple of years for Steelers fans on the offense. I mean, it really has. I mean, we haven't seen good offensive production in a very long time. And whether it was Matt Canada, the quarterbacks, a combination of both, it's been a struggle. We would come into games, even this time last year, we were in a field goal battle with the Atlanta Falcons, which we won, but I don't even remember what the score was, but it was like a 16-10 final last year. Very, very different 1 year later. We've got a 34-32 final over here. And wow, what crazy. It's crazy the type of stuff that we were watching on Sunday during the Steelers Jets game. First and foremost, I know that it's only week 1, but Aaron Rodgers looked very, very good. All things considered, he was making some really great plays. He had 4 touchdowns in this game, 225, somewhere over 220 yards. Don't really know the exact number. 4 touchdowns, very solid completion rate for a quarterback, especially at his age on a new team. These offensive wide receivers, we weren't really sure how they were going to produce. Well, some names kind of came out of the woodwork. I mean, obviously DK Metcalf had a good game, but I it's crazy to me that like Calvin Austin III had such an amazing kind of game. I mean, he not only did he have a touchdown, but he also had some pretty decent catches in the game that kind of highlighted where the Steelers kind of wanted him to be just a couple of years ago. People had said, oh, Calvin Austin III is going to be a sneaky wide receiver in years to come, kind of how people have hyped up Roman Wilson. But then he had injuries and different things, very similar to Roman Wilson. He never really had that breakout type year. And this year, this game, he looked like that solid wide receiver too. And it was great because, I mean, not only was he getting the ball, but DK was getting the ball. They were running some great plays. Pat Freiermuth is actually getting this one. There's like this one play that he keeps running that he keeps getting a first down on. It's a really great tight end play. Aaron Rodgers is getting the ball to him quickly, and Jonnu Smith is really getting involved in the offense as well. He's kind of really sinking in as well. I believe he was the other guy that had a touchdown in the game as well. So it's really, really impressive to watch this offense produce. It was just it's a really big breath of fresh air. And when I mean breath of fresh air, I don't mean like it's been a couple years ago. I mean, it was genuinely a breath of fresh air because we probably this team last year probably wouldn't have beaten the Jets. I don't even know what the score would have looked like, to be completely honest. I mean, I just don't. But um but yeah, so very impressed with the offense. Caleb Johnson not seen very much. It was very much a Kenneth Gainwell, Jalen Warren running back duo in the backfield, which was fine. Um, Kind of interesting to see what they do next with Caleb Johnson, other than just him being a punt returner or a kick returner. But we'll see. Skoronik, also your boy. Yeah, he had a tutty.
260.
Yeah, so he's going to be a pretty big piece as well. He had a so on the kickoff or the punt, he actually had, or it might have been a kick. I don't remember. I think it was a punt. Either way, there was a play that Kenneth Gainwell made that was a strip, and Ben Skowronek recovered the ball. So very good special teams moment, and yeah, that was another Big Ben play. Shout out Big Ben Skowronek and Kenny G. So yeah, offense, special teams looked good. Obviously, Chris Boswell is a goat. I mean, dude, just anytime you doubt him, one of his longest field goals of his career made it look easy. Can never doubt Chris Boswell might be the next Steelers jersey that I get. I mean, Steelers legend for real. But Steelers defense, that is a key of concern
Okay.
slightly.
That's
Not
rare.
it is this game, it reminded me a lot of the Colts game last year though, so I'm not super concerned. But if you remember the Colts game from last year, Josh, between the Steelers and the Colts, Justin Fields had a really, really good game. But the Steelers on defense just couldn't keep up. They couldn't stop the run, the pass. They were just wide open in the middle. There was just a beautiful throw Justin Fields had at one point where Darius Slay just got completely burned. Deshaun Elliott goes out early into the game, gets hurt, probably going to be out for a couple of weeks. Obviously, a big signing that has been circulating the NFL Twitters and whatnot over the last couple of days. Jabril Peppers has been signed by the Steelers to replace Deshaun Elliott over the next couple of games. Don't know how long Deshaun Elliott will be out for, but Peppers is obviously going to be a pretty big addition in the backfield. I think Jalen Ramsey, though, is a very good pickup. Came up big in the game at the end. Justin Fields went to scramble through a pass to Garrett Wilson and got absolutely trucked by Jalen Ramsey. Ended up being an incomplete pass. Steelers won the game because of that play. And yeah, I think Jalen Ramsey is a great addition to this defense. Not that Minka wouldn't have been another great to have back there, but I really like having Jalen Ramsey on as a defensive back. And yeah, he was pretty impressive. The big part on the defense that I'm really concerned about is the rush, the pass rush, the defense, the running defense. It's just it didn't look too strong. Hall was running all over us. We could not. First couple of plays of the game were like immediate first downs. He was already at like 25 yards within the first drive. It was really bad, and it kind of concerned me. And it's something that I think that they got to work on. But hopefully, in the next couple of weeks, they figure it out. Like I said, maybe it was just a fluke. Seattle is kind of a similar ran offense with the double running back scheme, but Sam Darnold is under center, not Justin Fields. So it's whereas the problem with the Jets, and Stan made a mention of this, is not really a problem, but one of the things with the Jets in comparison to other teams is they're a very run heavy offense. So obviously, we struggled against that type of offense. I mean, we held our own, we did well, we finished the game, we won the game, but I mean, we really struggled at moments in the game, and it does drive concern. The defense, like I said, I think we'll figure it out. Like I said, a couple of guys had some misses, like TJ Watt had a couple of missed tackles and stuff, but his presence I felt was more there than it was in a lot of games last year. I felt like he just wasn't present. I felt like they called his name a couple of times in this game, whether it was a big play or not. I mean, he definitely made his presence more known. Definitely getting up there in age, which is a concern. But lastly, I think the other room of concern, I think this is probably my biggest concern, not really much the defense. I think they'll figure it out. But my biggest concern, I think, actually is probably the offensive line. So the reason for that is I feel like holes were not getting open, and my goodness, Aaron Rodgers just had little to no time at any point to actually throw the ball. Now, granted, Aaron Rodgers is a great passer, so passing quickly and getting the ball out is not an issue for him. But the problem is for deep balls and for big yardage gains and stuff like that, you're gonna need an offensive line to hold their own. And maybe the Jets pass rush is very good in comparison, but I imagine from the looks of the teams that we're playing, 90% of the pass rushes that we're playing this season are going to be good. So if the
The
Jets are
AFC North.
if the Jets are even remotely okay at a pass rush, even if they're like 24th and we're struggling against them, we're going to have a really tough time this season. Because, like, I mean, Myles Garrett, I mean, Trey Hendrickson, Baltimore, I mean, that's just you play them all twice. So you got 6 games. And then you're not talking about all the other teams that we still have to play that we could talk about. Buffalo. I mean, it just goes on and on. I mean, these teams are good. I
Ed
mean,
Oliver looked good against the Ravens too. So if he's
that
going to have a career year,
this is not the year you want the offensive line to be stinking. So I think they need to figure that out so that the run game can open up a little bit more. And so Aaron Rodgers has a little bit more time in the pocket. Like I said, he did well. He didn't make too many mistakes. And I think he has a good chance at a promising season. But man, that offensive line was concerning. The defense was concerning. But like I said, I think they'll figure it out in the weeks to come, because usually this kind of happens. Either the defense starts off really hot and then they fall off at the end, or they start off really weird and then they finish it off at the end. This defense is just really odd to watch. So we'll see.
does the Steelers defense need to go through like an identity change? Because traditionally they've been a very aggressive defense, forcing turnovers, just, kind of imposing their will on the offense. Do you think this is a year that they kind of need to step back and maybe play more conservative?
Possibly. I think the thing is, though, is with the addition of Jalen Ramsey, I think that the team has kind of become more aggressive in some sense, just because Jalen Ramsey. I mean, if you watched even highlights of that game, Jalen Ramsey and the teams were just getting chippy. I mean, they were just like pushing and shoving. I mean, Darius Slay is known for being a handsy guy. Joey Porter Jr. is known for being a handsy guy. I think they're going to try their best to make physical, big turnovers still. I think that they should probably do an identity change and probably play more conservative, just so that we can stay in the game and, like, get a big turnover, kind of like how you were talking about the Bengals. Like, if they can just get a big turnover when it matters most, I think that's just all we need. But I mean, I like I said, I don't know if it's necessarily needed for an identity change. I think they'll figure it out. I think the big thing for me is that the presence of not having Minka back there probably in week 1 was probably challenging for some of the guys, because Elliott and Juwan Thornhill had to really kind of change their game plan, because Elliott and Minka kind of did different things. And now you have Jalen Ramsey in there that's kind of playing like cornerback man to man, but he also is kind of floating a little bit. And like he's just kind of the defense is looking very different than it has in years past. So I think they just really have to come into their own rather than like a full identity change.
Yeah, and real quick, I don't know if you have any thoughts on this. You guys did sign Jabril Peppers as well,
Yeah.
who was released by the Patriots. He's still being paid, I think, about $4.5 to $5 million by the Patriots. So I wanted the Bengals to sign him. Deshaun Elliott got hurt. So is Jabril Peppers a Deshaun Elliott replacement, or like what are we looking at here?
I don't think he's going to be a replacement, but I definitely think that it's going to be a good person to have step up, or a good player, I should say. I mean, he's more than a person; he's a player on the team. I think he's a good player to step up for Deshaun Elliott while Elliott is recovering from his injury. So it it is a good I think it's a good move. I mean, I don't really understand. I mean, there might be a reasoning behind it. I don't really know why the Patriots decided to move on with Peppers. I don't really think he was that bad of a safety. I think he has veteran presence. I think he's had multiple really good years. So I think for the Steelers, this is a really good signing. And even when Deshaun Elliott does come back, you can kind of utilize him in the backfield, and kind of like how we do with our with our linebackers. I mean, you look at all of these guys that we have over there. Like, I mean, we like it just on defense, we switch out, and you have Watt and Highsmith, and then over in the over in the back, just kind of lingering around. You still have Jack Sawyer, and you could run around with Peyton Wilson. You could run around with Cole Holcomb. Like there's a lot of movement you could do with that. So if we have a little bit of room to move around with our safeties as well, that could be very beneficial, especially for a team that I think has some hope this year. I mean, I'm not saying that it's going to happen, but I think that this team has more hope than they have in the past to be like, oh yeah, like we could be a playoff contender this year. I think for to sign a veteran presence like Peppers to step up is definitely going to help the defense even more, especially for the young guys.
I agree. I was really annoyed by this signing because I wanted the Bengals to sign him, and then the exact opposite happened. So one other thing that the Steelers are in the news for potentially is Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, this is
So
kind of a crazy.
you talked about this in the group chat a little bit, so that's why I'm bringing it up. Tyreek Hill at the end of last season declared that he wanted to be traded, and he hasn't been. And then he was not named a captain this season. So the last 2 seasons he's been a captain. He's in the second year of a 3-year contract extension. He appeared, reports say, I haven't seen video of this, so I'm just going off of what the reports say, appeared to be crashing out during the Colts game against the Dolphins, which we'll be talking about now in a little bit. And now he apparently is rumored to be getting traded again. Obviously, the Chiefs are in talks for that with Xavier Worthy being injured, that him having a history with that team. But also the Steelers are the other team that people are talking about. So should the Steelers trade for Tyreek Hill?
I think so. Initially, before we kind of all had a discussion about it, I thought that this was going to be a good move, but I think partially also it could be kind of in between because, as you mentioned, Josh, in some of our text messages and stuff like that, we talked about it. I think one of the biggest issues that kind of gives me concern is the lawsuits and the different legal battles that Tyreek Hill might be going through, which may cause distractions on the field, which is very possible, or may not cause any issues at all. But I think for a team like the Steelers, for somebody like myself, I think it would be honestly an unbelievable pickup. Like if we could manage to get a Tyreek Hill with DK Metcalf with this offense and Aaron Rodgers continues to produce as he's producing, like this is going to be a very, very scary team. Like, I mean, if you got the defense to figure it out, like the offensive line, okay, yeah, we can work around it, I guess. But like, if you have like a Tyreek Hill and a DK Metcalf, like how do you game plan for both? I mean, it's really hard. So I think it would be a great pickup, but the thing that genuinely concerns me and where I'm kind of like now on the fence with is like the legal battles and stuff. And obviously we wouldn't probably have him long term. This would be kind of a buy and hope for the best type deal this year because you said he's coming up on an extension or he's already been extended or how does it work? Like I don't.
He's in the second year of a 3-year extension that the Dolphins gave him.
Right. So I mean, we may hold on to him, but like we're not going to have him much past his extension. Like I don't really, because we already have Metcalf. Like Metcalf is going to be our guy. We obviously extended him for a reason. We would only have Tyreek Hill short term. And the problem with Hill is Aaron Rodgers, I imagine, Aaron Rodgers already said, I'm pretty sure like this is his last year. Like he's not playing next year. So like next year it's going to be Hill and Metcalf and we don't know who's going to be throwing the ball to them. It could be a rookie. It could be Mason Rudolph. Like we really, there's a lot of unknowns about next year. So would he crash out again? Maybe. At least with the Chiefs, he has a quarterback that's not going anywhere over the next 10 years. So if he has any sort of say in like the trade matter, I wouldn't be surprised if he kind of pushes more for the Chiefs rather than the Steelers. Though, as a Steelers fan, I would love it, but like I said, biggest concern is any of the off field troubles because I really don't think it's going to be locker room issues. I think that it's a heavy locker room. There's a lot of attitudes in the locker room per se, a lot of different things like that. But I think DK Metcalf, Jalen Ramsey, guys that have like I guess you could call it big egos on and off the field, I think are going to be fine in the locker room with somebody like Tyreek Hill, So
the Steelers have a long history of having dramatic, I guess, wide receivers.
Yeah.
Does that concern you at all?
Um, not really. I really get upset with the dramatic wide receivers being the young guys. I think that's what kind of really frustrates me. Like you have like Chase Claypool being, a diva. You've got issues with George Pickens being you can call him a diva or whatever you want to call him, but like just somebody that's just like kind of just being a little childish when it comes to not getting the ball. I mean, there's rumors or there's things being reported that he's being kind of annoyed that he wasn't getting the ball thrown to him much during the Cowboys and Eagles game on Thursday. And I think that's really stupid because CeeDee Lamb is obviously the wide receiver one. You're going to get wide receiver two balls. Like if you wanted to be wide receiver one, you're going to have to go somewhere like the Raiders or somewhere that really needs a wide receiver one, which, I mean, to be honest, not a lot of teams really need wide receiver ones right now. So, but that being said, it doesn't really concern me. It just frustrates me when it's the young guys. Like Tyreek Hill coming in at, 30 years old. If he ends up being a little childish or whatever, we only have 2 years with him and then he can, move on or whatever. But no, it doesn't really concern me. Just because you get those picks and stuff, like you draft a wide receiver, you got a lot of investment in them. The first year, like they're like, yeah, like I'm like this is gonna be awesome. I'm excited to be here. And then the next year after that, they're like going ghost on Instagram and doing a bunch of dumb stuff. Like I said, that's what made me mad about Chase Claypool was that like they were calling him Mapletron. Like he looked great, and then the next year after that, like he did nothing. And then he started doing like it just got really weird, and that's what frustrates me because I'm like we could have granted we got we got value back for him, but in some cases you don't always get value back for these players, or you have to cut them and whatnot. So at least we know what we're getting with Tyreek.
Real quick, what would you give up for Tyreek Hill?
Well, his skill set is good. Age is definitely a factor. So obviously you don't want to give him too much of a high pick because I don't think that for somebody that has, 2 years left, I think you probably, in my opinion, wouldn't want to go any more than a third.
Okay. There you have it. I'm going to clip that. So let me know your opinion down below. We'll actually let Chus know your opinion. I don't really care, but I care about your opinion. I don't care if the Steelers sign Tyreek Hill because I think it'd be really funny personally. But I'm a hater. I'm a hater.
Yeah, who's going to do it better, Jamar Chase and T. Higgins or Tyreek Hill and DK Metcalf?
Jamar Chase and T. Higgins because Tyreek Hill and DK Metcalf are going to be fighting in the end zone. That's my prediction. Let me know your prediction down below. But anyway, the Indianapolis Colts. We got to talk about it. We got to because we hated on them. I hated on them. I will own up to it. Oh, my hands are blurry. I will own up to it. I did not believe. I don't think anyone in Indiana believed. But Daniel Jones, Indiana Jones, came in to Lucas Oil Stadium with a chip on his shoulder, and he looked phenomenal. Apparently, this is the first time this century that a team has scored on every single drive. Oh my gosh. I don't think Anthony Richardson, I don't want to overreact, but I don't think Anthony Richardson's going to see the field this year if Daniel Jones is healthy. If he comes in and keeps playing like that, oh, Lord. Chris Ballard had a great day, too. The Bengals GM. He brought in Cam Bynum and Charvarius Ward as well. Cam Bynum had an interception. Charvarius Ward had, I believe, 6 tackles. The defense looked great. Lou Anarumo's defense looked great. Leatu Latu, last year's first-round pick, had an interception. Xavier Howard, who obviously played for the Dolphins formerly, he had a fumble recovery. So, like, all these guys that Chris Ballard brought in this year looked great. They made plays. This defense looked awesome. They got Tua flustered, which Xavier Howard said, like, hey, once you fluster Tua, he, just falls apart. And that's kind of that's what happened. Yeah. So we might have been wrong about the Colts. Now we could next week see Daniel Jones come back down to earth, possibly, but they're starting hot, and let's give them credit where credit's due. So, Chus, do you have any thoughts on the Colts at all?
Yeah, so I think it's pretty impressive how well Daniel Jones looked as well as the defense. I mean, the defense had some turnovers and really kind of just shut down Miami completely. I know we kind of speculated, and I know I speculated as well in our picks last week that Miami probably wasn't going to be the same team that they had been in the past, but they did not look good. And whether, like we said, whether it is Indianapolis just improving or the Miami Dolphins being really bad remains to be seen. But I think Daniel Jones looked really good on offense, like on the offensive spectrum. Like I think the Colts looked really good as well. I can't really see an idea where Anthony Richardson, as you mentioned, goes in unless Daniel Jones really just either gets hurt or really just kind of falls off from here, which obviously still could happen. I mean, the Colts do have some pretty difficult matchups here and there. I mean, granted, their division isn't as stacked as like a per se like an AFC North or even an NFC East, like where he came from. So I think it's a little bit more lenient. I think that if the Colts play like the way that they did against the Dolphins, I honestly think that they could be contenders for the AFC South.
Yeah, I agree, and I forgot to highlight Tyler Warren, their first round pick this year. He did exactly what I thought he was going to do and more. I noticed Daniel Jones really liked him in the preseason. He was a check down guy that Daniel Jones could throw to, and then he would get a ton of yards after catch, and he did that. But he also had some rushes for a first. He had a rush for a first down. He had some longer catches as well. So the fact that we came into this season wondering if Chris Ballard was going to have a job next season. And all these guys that Chris Ballard brought in are immediately having an instant impact is very promising for him. And also, it's great. The Colts haven't won their season opener to this point in 11 seasons. It was the longest streak in the NFL. And then they are in a game where they're honoring the late Jim Irsay. The Indianapolis Colts come out and win their season opener in a season where everyone was doubting them. There was not a single person who was not doubting this team. And they came out and they proved them wrong. Now, I don't know if they will be able to continue that, like we've said. I hope they do. They have a test this week. They have the Denver Broncos, and that Broncos defense is fantastic.
Yes.
So
the
they're
Broncos
gonna
did struggle a little bit against Tennessee, though. It was a weird game. I don't know if you watched any highlights of it, but it definitely looked,
we'll see.
you know,
We'll see if the Colts offense comes out as hot as they did, and we'll see if the Colts defense is able to contain Bo Nix, because that's going to be a big thing for that offense. Is can you contain the mobility of Bo Nix and force him to use his arm, and then force maybe some deeper plays that could result in some turnovers for the Indianapolis Colts. But I think they came out hot. They did way more than what we expected them to do. And if they continue that, they could easily win the division. And I don't think anyone expected that this season.
right? And that's going to be exciting. It's really going to be exciting to see how the Colts and such perform, going forward.
Yep. Finally, this is for Chris. Chris Vikings. My number one. He's been like talking trash. He's talking about this week 3 game against the Bengals. We got JJ McCarthy, the NFC Offensive Player of the Week. And JJ McCarthy did not have a strong debut for the first 3 quarters. And then he apparently did something that hasn't been done since 1985 when Steve Young did it against the Detroit Lions. And that is come back from a 10-point plus deficit in the fourth quarter in a quarterback debut to win the game. And so, Chus, when I told you that JJ McCarthy I like JJ McCarthy. I can see the argument for and against here. But when I told you that JJ McCarthy was the NFC Offensive Player of the Week, you had a very strong reaction. So what? Let's go here.
Well, I mean, the problem that I had was that they named him NFC Offensive Player of the Week, and you could argue one way or another about who deserves it and who didn't. But the reason that I wasn't really on board with JJ McCarthy winning it is just because he did, although he had the really good comeback and stuff like that. I feel like the problem is he he didn't at the beginning of the game look real good. I mean, we can't sugarcoat it. I mean, I know there's gonna be Viking fans that get mad at me for it or whatever, but to be honest, I mean, he kind of was holding on to the ball too long. He was scrambling a lot. Kind of looked like Kenny Pickett, and it kind of concerned me at first. Yes, he had the great comeback and everything was good. 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, a rushing touchdown, good numbers and stuff like that, especially for a rookie debut. But I was pretty shocked that they gave him Offensive Player of the Week just because of the slow start that he had. I mean, like I said, I guess statistically speaking, nobody really in the NFC had anything higher production wise. I mean, I feel like there was more AFC offensive talent this week, where I feel like NFC probably was more open from what I saw statistically. But yeah, I mean, I think it's the first game, and we'll see how he produces for the rest of the season. Um, like I said, impressed for the final comeback at the end of the game, but definitely very questionable in my opinion.
he, he threw that pick six and something like just snapped in him. He was like, oh, like he suddenly remembered how to play football, and like the whole team just kind of came together, except for Justin Jefferson. Justin Jefferson had a drop that resulted in my parlay missing. So I'm not happy with Justin Jefferson. It missed by 4 yards. But I do think Justin Jefferson actually did have a touchdown after that, but still, come on. Come on, Jay Jettis. I'm excited for him because I think what people need to remember with JJ McCarthy is, yes, he's in his second year, but for all intents and purposes, he is a rookie. He isn't like he was benched his rookie year and was practicing, kind of like how Patrick Mahomes was with Alex Smith his rookie year. JJ McCarthy was hurt. So he wasn't even really taking practice reps. He wasn't really even working out with the team, running through plays. He was reading plays, watching film, learning the game. But, this was one of the first times he saw an NFL defense at full speed, because he didn't even really play in preseason either. So I think that's important for us to remember. It's easy for us to say, JJ McCarthy, he's in his second year. He should know how to do this. Michael Penix Jr. is in his second year. He didn't really play. They're the same player, but they're not the same player. Michael Penix Jr. was going through practice. He was going through reps behind Kirk Cousins. So while he wasn't starting on Sundays, he was still, getting that practice reps in against that defense, whereas JJ McCarthy was watching from the sidelines.
Right.
So that's today's show. Chus, do you have anything you would like to add?
No, I'm just excited for our 3 teams to battle it out over the weekend, and we'll see how they fare in week 2.
The Cincinnati Bengals are going to the Super Bowl. All right.
All right, yeah, whatever.
Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. It's a small action for you, but it is a big help for us. We appreciate anything you do. Comment, let us know your opinion down below. Buy some merch, helps us out as well. And until next time, go do something nice for someone.